When I first landed in the Philippines, I didn't come here as a tourist with a fancy camera or expensive luggage. I came with a simple backpack, a few shirts, and a plan that even my friends thought was crazy. I wanted to experience the Philippines the way ordinary people lived, not as a foreigner with money, but as someone struggling to get by. They laughed and said, "You won't last a week." But what I discovered changed my entire perspective about life, happiness, and what it truly means to be rich. The idea started when I noticed how people talk about poverty in the Philippines. On social media, you'll see both sides, the stunning beaches, the big malls, the luxury resorts, but also the narrow streets, small homes, and hardworking families. Outsiders often see one side and judge quickly. They say, "Oh, life must be so hard there." But I wanted to find out for myself, is it really hardship? Or is there something deeper in how Filipinos live? So, I decided to live like a local. No expensive hotels, no taxes, no luxury meals. Just small neighborhood apartments, public jeepneys, and local food from roadside stalls. For the first few days, I kept my identity hidden. I didn't say where I was from. I didn't mention that I had money. I just wanted to blend in, to see how people would treat someone they thought was poor. And let me tell you, from the very first day, something felt different. In the small street where I stayed, people didn't avoid me, they greeted me. A woman selling rice and vegetables smiled and said, "King Tayo," which means let's eat. I was shocked, I didn't even know her. Back home, most people barely greet their neighbors. But here, in this humble place, I felt welcomed like family. Over the next few days, I walked through busy markets, narrow alleys, and small fishing villages. I ate what the locals ate: rice, dried fish, sometimes instant noodles when money was tight. I rode on crowded jeepneys, squeezed between strangers who were always laughing, talking, or singing along to a pop song on someone's phone. And everywhere I went, I noticed something powerful. Even when people had little, they gave much. One night, it rained heavily. The roof of the small place I was staying started leaking. I stepped outside to stay under a small shop's awning, thinking I'd just wait for the rain to stop. Then, a family living across the street called out to me, "Kuya, come here, it's flooding there." They pulled me inside their home. A small one-room house with kids sleeping on mats, a mother cooking noodles over a gas burner, and a father just back from work. They barely had enough space for themselves, yet they made space for me. That night, we shared food and stories, and I'll never forget the laughter. I remember thinking, how can people who have so little still give so much? This wasn't the kind of poverty I'd imagined. There was struggle, yes, but there was also community. People helped each other, neighbors watched each other's kids, shared meals, and found joy in simple things. They didn't seem obsessed with what they lacked, they appreciated what they had. Halfway through my stay, I started to understand what made the Philippines special. It wasn't just the beaches or the cost of living, it was the heart of the people. I realized that when Filipinos smile, it's not a mask, it's strength. When they laugh, it's not because life is easy, it's because they've learned to find light in darkness. Then came a moment that truly shook me. I met a tricycle driver named June. Every morning, I'd see him waiting by the corner, hoping for passengers. His tricycle was old and rusty, but he worked long hours every day. One morning, we started talking. He told me he had 3 kids and a wife who stayed home because she couldn't find work. He said, "Sometimes, I earn only enough for rice, but it's okay as long as we eat together." I decided to ride with him for a few days, helping him collect fares and talking with passengers. People treated him with respect, not pity. They joked, shared stories, even helped him push his tricycle when it broke down. And when I asked him if he ever wished he had more money, he said something I'll never forget. "Of course, but money is not everything. I have family, I have friends, I have faith. That's already more than some rich people have." That line hit me deeply. Because in my country, people work non-stop, chasing money, houses, cars, and yet they're lonely. But here, in this small corner of the world, a man who barely earns enough to survive says he's rich, not because of what's in his pocket, but because of who's beside him. Before we continue, I want to ask you, have you ever visited a place that made you question everything you thought about happiness? If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happens next will truly open your eyes to what real wealth means. Back to the story. After a week, I started helping out around the community. I joined morning cleanups, helped an old man fix his fishing net, even played basketball with the local kids. The funny thing is, Nobody cared where I was from or how much money I had. They cared about whether I smiled, whether I joined in, whether I was part of the community. There was one evening I'll never forget. A small birthday celebration for a 9-year-old boy named Carlo. They invited me, even though I barely knew them. The whole party cost maybe $10 total. Homemade spaghetti, bread, and a small cake. But the happiness, priceless. Carlo's mother said, "We don't have much, but what we have, we share." That moment summed up everything I'd been trying to understand. By pretending to be poor, I didn't just see poverty, I saw humanity. As the days passed, I started realizing that my little experiment had turned into something far deeper than I expected. The neighbors I once saw as strangers now called me Kuya, big brother. Kids would wave when they saw me passing by, and every morning, someone would knock on my door offering coffee or breakfast. But my time was running out. My return flight was just a few days away, and I knew I couldn't leave without telling them the truth. So one evening, after a small neighborhood dinner, I finally spoke up. I told them I wasn't poor, that I had come to the Philippines to learn what life was really like for ordinary people. For a moment, everyone was silent. Even the kids stopped talking. Then the oldest man there, a fisherman named Teddy Ben, smiled and said, "So that's why you were always asking questions." And then he laughed. Not a single person got angry. They didn't treat me differently. In fact, they told me, "You didn't pretend to be poor. You just lived like us. You became one of us." That night, I realized something powerful. I came here to understand what poverty looks like, but I ended up understanding what richness of heart truly means. On my last day, the community gathered to say goodbye. They gave me small gifts, a hand-woven bracelet, a photo of us together, and a small shell necklace from one of the kids. None of it was expensive, but each piece meant more to me than anything money could buy. When my jeepney drove off, I looked back and saw them waving. And in that moment, I felt a strange pain. I had come here as an outsider, but I was leaving his family. As the city skyline faded in the distance, I thought about how wrong we often are about happiness. We chase money thinking it will buy peace, when in truth, peace is found in people, in moments of kindness, in shared laughter, in simple meals eaten together. In the Philippines, I saw that being poor in wealth doesn't mean being poor in life. Because if you have love, community, and purpose, then you already have everything. If you ever visit this country, don't just go for the beaches or the resorts. Walk through the local streets, talk to the vendors, eat with the families who will welcome you even if they've never met you before. That's where the true beauty of the Philippines lives, not in luxury, but in connection. I came pretending to be poor, but I left feeling richer than I had ever been in my life. If this story touched you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that happiness isn't about what's in your wallet, it's about what's in your heart. And remember, sometimes, the poorest places on earth hold the richest lessons in humanity.